He always said he wasn't ready to be a father, but she believed love could change him. When she finally gathered the courage to tell him she was pregnant, she expected surprise, maybe even slow happiness. Instead, the CEO she had loved for years turned into someone she didn't recognize. Cold, afraid, angry. He pushed her away with the cruelest words a husband could ever say. I don't want this baby, and I don't want you. Leave. 9 months passed in silence. She survived alone, every contraction, every fear, every tear while he buried himself in work, pretending he felt nothing. Until one ordinary day. In a hospital hallway, his world stopped, because sitting on a bench near the NICU was the woman he threw out, holding two newborn twins as children, and looking at him with eyes that held both pain and strength. That day, he wasn't ready to be a father, but destiny didn't ask him. It simply placed his children in front of him, and waited. Aryan Malik had mastered control. Control over his voice, his decisions, his meetings, his empire. Every inch of his life was planned, measured, calculated, nothing unexpected, nothing chaotic. That was the rule he lived by, and the rule he broke the moment he let Moher into his world. Moher was nothing like the world he built, where his days were filled with sharp edges and deadlines. She was softness, warm chai at dawn, quiet laughter in the kitchen, late-night walks, and a way of looking at him that made him feel human again. She had seen him when he was still figuring out life, when he had fears, when he had insecurities, when he wasn't the billionaire CEO people bowed to. But love didn't stop fear, and fear didn't stop mistakes. It started on a rainy Thursday morning, the kind where the sky looked bruised, and the air carried a strange heaviness. Mihor waited for him at the dining table, fingers intertwined, heart pounding painfully in her chest. She had been practicing her words in the mirror for 3 days, whispering them with hope and fear mixing in her throat. Aryan, I'm pregnant. You're going to be a father. She imagined his face lighting up the way it did when he achieved a new milestone. She imagined him holding her hands, pulling her close, whispering, we'll figure it out together. She imagined too much, because when he finally walked in tie-loosened, phone in hand, brows knitted, she knew even before speaking that this wouldn't go as she dreamed. He didn't notice the way her voice trembled. He didn't notice the soft smile she tried to hide. He didn't notice her at all, until she said the words, Aryan, I'm pregnant. The silence that followed wasn't silence. It was the crack of something breaking. His phone slowly lowered. His eyes widened not in joy but fear. Deep, raw, paralyzing fear. What did you just say? His voice came out like sandpaper. I'm pregnant, she whispered again. A little softer, her eyes searching his face, hoping to catch even the smallest spark of happiness. But the spark never came. Instead, anger flickered. No, Maher, not now. His hand pushed through his hair in frustration. You know I'm not ready for this. You know what my plate looks like? I told you kids are not in my plans yet. Her breath caught. But Aryan, life doesn't always follow plans. And this is something beautiful. Something beautiful. He snapped, stepping back as if the word disgusted him. Do you realize what you're asking of me? I'm building an empire, Maher. I'm already drowning in responsibilities. I can't add a child into this chaos. She felt something collapse inside her chest. This isn't chaos, she whispered. It's our baby. He didn't hear her. Or maybe he didn't want to. Look, I need focus. Stability. This, he pointed at her stomach, like it was the problem. This will ruin everything. Tears gathered in her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. You think a baby ruins life? She asked softly. I think a baby right now ruins my life, he said with a coldness that sliced her in. The words hung in the air, like smoke from a fire she didn't know was burning. She took a step toward him, gently touching his arm. Aryan, please don't say things you'll regret. I need you. He shook her hand off violently. What I regret, he said through clenched teeth, is trusting you to understand what I wanted. Her heart trembled. Aryan, I'm your wife. And I'm telling you what I can't handle, he snapped. I'm not ready to be a father. I don't want this. I never wanted this. And if you insist on having this baby, then maybe you need to leave. Her world stopped. Leave. The word felt heavy in her mouth. I can't do this, he said, voice cracking despite his efforts to stay cold. I can't be what you want. I can't be someone's father. Not now. Not like this. She stared at him, the man she loved, the man she trusted with her whole soul. There were moments she knew his fears, his deepest wounds. He grew up with a father who never cared. A father who broke him before he had a chance to heal. But she thought love could change him. She thought she could Instead, she stood there, trembling, tears burning her eyes, watching her marriage crumble like dust in her hands. "Arian, where will I go?" Her voice cracked hopelessly. "I'll send money," he said coldly. "You won't struggle, but you can't stay here and bring a child I'm not ready to accept." That was the moment she felt something inside her die. Minutes later, she stood outside their house with a suitcase that felt heavier than ever, heavy with dreams, hopes, and memories, heavy with the weight of being abandoned by the man she still loved. Rain soaked her clothes, her hair, her heart, but she didn't cry, not until the door closed behind her. She heard it, a soft final click as he shut her out of his life, out of his home, out of his heart. She whispered, "Goodbye, Arian," though he didn't hear it. He stood inside the house, chest tight, eyes burning. But he kept telling himself he made the right decision, that he wasn't ready, that he was protecting his future, that he wasn't meant for fatherhood. But deep down, a part of him, small and buried, knew he had done something unforgivable. And 9 months later, life would return to make him face that truth. Because destiny had a way of catching up, and no matter how far he ran, one day he would look into the eyes of the children he tried to reject, and realize the biggest mistake of his life was letting their mother walk away. Mohor learned very quickly that silence could hurt more than screaming. When Arian shut the door on her that night, she didn't scream, didn't beg, didn't collapse. She walked away quietly, hand on her stomach, whispering to the 2 tiny heartbeats growing inside her, "It's okay, Mama is here." She didn't know she was carrying twins yet, only that she was alone. The taxi ride felt endless. Every streetlight passing through the window felt like it was exposing her, showing the world a woman who had been rejected by the only man she had ever loved. She kept one hand on her belly the whole ride home, as if trying to shield her babies from the harsh truth. Their father didn't want them. But inside her, 2 lives kicked softly, reminding her she wasn't alone. The women's shelter. She spent the first 2 nights at a women's shelter, because she had nowhere else to go. Her parents were gone, and she had no siblings. Her relatives, those who used to call during her wedding, disappeared the moment she needed them. The shelter was small, simple, and quiet, but in that silence, she cried more than she had in years. One night, the lady running the shelter placed a warm hand on her shoulder. "Just because he's a powerful man, doesn't mean he has the power to decide your worth." That sentence stayed with her. Meanwhile, Arian changed, but Taladarian Malik threw himself into work the moment she left. He convinced himself it was easier to feel nothing. But the silence of the house started swallowing him. No soft footsteps, no humming in the kitchen, no warmth. Just the cold steel of success. But the worst part wasn't the quiet, it was the guilt. Sometimes he would wake up at night imagining Mahor crying somewhere he couldn't reach, but he drowned the thought with expensive whiskey and longer work hours. One night, his assistant found him staring blankly at a baby store window, long after closing hours. Tiny clothes, little shoes, double strollers. He tried to walk away, but he couldn't. Arian Malik was a powerful man, but at that moment, he felt helpless. And yet she never reached out. Pride won every single time. The pregnancy reveals a secret 3 months in. The doctor gave Mahor news she wasn't prepared for. "You're carrying twins." Her breath caught. 2 babies, 2 little souls depending on her. She cried right there, half terrified, half overwhelmed with love. She started working part-time at a small bookstore. The owner, a kind old man, let her take breaks whenever she needed. She spent nights knitting tiny sweaters, talking to the babies as if they could understand every word. "Maybe your father will come one day," she whispered once. But even the babies were quiet that night. Deep down, she knew she would be the only parent they had. The final month her pregnancy was complicated, her body too stressed, her heart too tired. The doctors asked, "Do you have someone who can stay with you during delivery? A husband? Family?" She smiled, trying to hide the tremble in her voice. "No, it's just me." By the 9th month, she had barely eaten for days. The bookstore owner rushed her to the hospital when she fainted between the bookshelves. It was too early. The twins weren't due yet, but Mahur was too weak to continue. The doctors whispered, "Outside, she might lose too much blood. Prepare the NICU, we can't delay delivery." Heard pieces of the conversation and held her stomach, whispering, "It's okay, Mama will do anything for you too." And then everything went dark. Meanwhile, Arian walks into Fadarian wasn't supposed to be at the hospital that day. He came because his board member collapsed during a meeting and was taken to the ER. The hospital smelled like antiseptic and sorrow. People walked with fear in their eyes. And for some reason, Arian felt uneasy as he waited outside the emergency room. A nurse rushed past with a newborn in her arms, tiny, fragile, wrapped in soft blue cloth. And for the first time in his life, something stirred inside him. A feeling he didn't understand. A feeling he didn't want to understand. The nurse paused near him and said to another doctor, "The mother is still unconscious. She delivered twins, a boy and a girl. Early birth. We're doing everything we can." Arian froze. Twins, a boy and a girl. A storm started building inside him, but before he could process anything, he heard a sound behind him, the soft, broken cry of a newborn. He turned, and his heart stopped, because the tiny baby in the nurse's arms had his eyes. The moment that broke him before he could speak. The door to another room opened and a second nurse carried a newborn girl, just minutes old, wrapped in pink. Her fragile fingers curled into a tiny fist. Arian's legs felt weak, his chest tightened, his breath trembled. 2 babies, twins, his eyes, his hair, his face, his world shattered in one brutal truth. These were his children, his, and he had thrown them and their mother away. His knees almost buckled as he whispered, Where is their mother?" The nurse replied gently, "The mother is in the ICU. She lost too much blood. We're trying to stabilize her. I see you. Fighting for life. Alone, because of him." Arian felt like the ground under him had disappeared. His doctor led him toward a glass window overlooking the ICU. His breath caught in his throat. There, lying pale, weak, cold, was Mihar, the same woman he threw out of his house? The same woman he promised to protect. The same woman carrying his children. Tubes in her arms. Oxygen mask on her face. Machines fighting for her life. Arian pressed a hand against the glass, his voice breaking, "Mihar, what have I done to you?" And for the first time in his life, Arian Malik broke down. Not because of the twins, not because of guilt, but because he realized something too late. He still loved her. He always had. Arian stood frozen, his palm still pressed against the cold glass, as if touching it could somehow reach her. Mahar looked so small beneath the harsh ICU lights. Her skin pale, lips colorless, her breaths shallow and mechanical. Machines beeped around her, doing what her exhausted body no longer could. He swallowed hard. But tears burned any waiters he had no strength to hide. A nurse noticed him trembling and stepped closer. "Sir, are you family?" He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Family. The word stabbed him. He had thrown her out. He had denied his children before they even existed. He didn't deserve to call himself family. Yet the truth escaped in a broken whisper. I'm her husband." The nurse's expression softened. "Then you should sit. You look like you might fall." He didn't sit. He couldn't. His legs were shaking. But something stronger held him up, the sight of the woman he had destroyed trying to survive without him. A doctor approached with a clipboard. She lost too much blood. Delivery was early. Her body was very weak during pregnancy. It must have been extremely difficult for her. Arian shut his eyes, pain hitting him like a physical blow. Difficult. She had gone through 9 months alone because he abandoned her. She worked, lived in shelters, suffered contractions without him, was wheeled into the operating room without a hand to hold. "What are her chances?" he asked, voice cracking. "We're doing all we can, but it will be a long fight." His chest tightened again. He wanted to run into the room, grab her hand, tell her he was there, that he wasn't going anywhere ever again. But he stood frozen, a prisoner to his regret. A soft cry pulled his attention. It echoed down the corridor, small and fragile. The nurse walked by with the little boy, his son still wrapped in blue. The baby fussed, waving tiny fists, unaware of the storm his birth had caused. Can I hold him?" Arian whispered. The nurse studied him. "Are you sure?" He nodded, though he wasn't sure of anything except one thing. He needed to. The nurse gently placed the baby into his arms. The world stopped. He had held $1 million contracts, awards, even the keys to skyscrapers. But nothing had ever felt as heavy, or as sacred as the tiny life now resting against his chest. The baby blinked slowly, his eyes the same deep brown as Arian's. Arian's heart cracked wide open. "Hey, little one," he whispered shakily. "I'm so sorry. I'm so late." The boy gripped Arian's finger with a strength impossible for his size, and something inside the CEO shattered completely. He brought the baby closer, pressing a trembling kiss to his forehead. The nurse watched quietly, understanding everything without words. "Your daughter is in NICU too," she said gently. "Would you like to see her?" "Please," he whispered. She guided him to another room where tiny incubators lined the walls. The air was warm and humming with machines. The moment he saw the little girl, the smallest human he'd ever seen, curled into herself with a pink blanket, something inside him melted. Her eyelashes were long, her face delicate, her mouth shaped exactly like Mihar's. He placed a hand on the incubator, afraid to breathe. "My princess." The words stumbled out. "I'm so sorry for everything." Both babies were breathing on their own, but they were weak and needed monitoring. Nurses adjusted tubes and checked charts. Aryan couldn't take his eyes off them. He felt like someone had ripped open his life and shown him what truly mattered. Hours slipped by. He refused to leave the NICU. Nurses asked him to rest, but he shook his head every time. He stayed. He watched. He whispered to them. He promised them a future he once refused to give. As dawn crept in through the narrow hospital windows, he finally gathered courage to return to the ICU. Meher hadn't moved. Her chest rose and fell in shallow, mechanical rhythms. Aryan slid down the wall beside the glass, staring at her. Broken. He remembered the night he threw her out. Her soft voice, trembling but brave. "Aryan, I am pregnant." His cold answer, the fear that became cruelty, the anger he let speak instead of love. And now, she was fighting for her life because she carried his children alone. "Please," he whispered into his shaking hands. "Please wake up, yell at me, hate me, anything, just wake up." The guilt didn't sit quietly. It tore through him. All those months he could have helped her, protected her, held her through the pain. And he chose to run. He thought becoming a father would ruin his life. But now, seeing her like this, he realized what truly would ruin him: losing her. Time blurred. Hours passed. He didn't eat, didn't speak. He only sat there, eyes fixed on the rise and fall of her chest, terrified each breath might be the last. Finally, a doctor approached. "She's stable. For now, we need to see how she responds once sedation is lowered." Aryan let out a trembling breath. "Can I go inside? It's against policy right now." The doctor replied carefully, "But maybe later." He nodded, though disappointment stung him. He pressed his forehead against the glass again, and then her finger twitched. The slightest movement, barely there, but real. Aryan shot up. Doctor, she moved." The doctor and nurses rushed over. They checked her vitals, adjusted medication, watched her carefully. "It's a positive sign," the doctor finally said. "She's slowly coming back." Aryan covered his face with his hands, relief collapsing through him. He felt like he was breathing again for the first time in months. He stayed beside her all night, whispering promises into the air. "I will never leave you again, not even for a minute. I will raise our children with you. I will spend the rest of my life making this right. Just come back to me." Hours later, just as sunlight spilled through the blinds, her eyelashes fluttered. His breath stopped. She blinked slowly, her eyes unfocused, searching for light, searching for something familiar, and then they found him. Aryan took a step forward, tears streaming. "Meher, I'm here. I'm right here." Her lips parted weakly. No sound came out, but the pain in her eyes told him she remembered everything. She remembered he didn't want the children. She remembered he pushed her out. She remembered the door closing on her. A single tear slipped down her cheek, and Aryan's heart shattered all over again. "Please," he whispered, "don't cry, not because of me." He reached for her hand, hesitant, afraid, and for the first time in 9 months, she didn't pull away. Aryan didn't move for a long moment. He just held her hand gently, afraid she would pull away the second she realized it was him. But she didn't. Her fingers were cold, fragile, weak, yet somehow warmer than anything he'd touched in months. Mahar blinked again, her eyes heavy, her breath shallow through the oxygen mask. She tried to speak, her lips trembling beneath the plastic. Aryan leaned closer, his heart racing, desperate for even a whisper. "The babies," she mouthed slowly. "Not where am I, not what happened, not even why are you here." Her first thought was them. Aryan felt something inside him break open again, even deeper this time. He wiped his face quickly so she wouldn't see his tears. "They're safe," he whispered, voice shaking. "They're beautiful, Mahor, a boy and a girl. They're strong, stronger than me, stronger than I ever was." Her eyelids fluttered, the faintest relief passing across her face. He took a shaky breath. "They look like you, but they have my eyes." Her tears welled again, sliding slowly down her temples. This time, she didn't hide them. A nurse stepped into the room quietly. "She can stay awake for a little while, but she needs rest. Keep it calm." Aryan nodded, though every part of him wanted to hold her and say everything he'd kept buried. He pulled a small chair close. Sitting so close, their hands stayed connected. "I'm sorry," he whispered, "for everything, for the night you told me, for pushing you away, for not being there every minute those children grew inside you." Her eyes shifted toward him, slow and tired but full of a pain that crushed him. "I'm so sorry you had to go through all of that alone," he continued. "You needed me the most, and I became the worst version of myself." Her lips trembled, barely forming words. "Why? Now?" It wasn't anger. It wasn't hatred. It was heartbreak. He leaned closer, voice raw, cracking. "Because I saw our children, and in 1 second, I understood everything I destroyed. I was afraid of being a father, afraid of losing control, afraid of responsibilities. But the moment I saw them, I realized the only thing I should have been afraid of was losing you." Her breathing hitched, but she didn't close her eyes. She listened. "I want to be here now," he whispered. "Not because of guilt, not because I'm supposed to, but because I love you, Mahar, and I won't let fear make decisions for me ever again." A single tear escaped from her eye. He wiped it gently with his thumb. Terrified he had no right to touch her, the nurse returned with a soft, small bundle wrapped in pink. "She's stable enough for a few minutes. The mother should see at least one baby." Aryan froze. Mahar's daughter, their daughter. The nurse placed the tiny girl carefully on Mahor's chest, adjusting the tubes and wires so nothing tugged. The baby made a soft, weak sound, her fingers curling as if searching for warmth. Meher broke. Her tears fell freely, her hands trembling as she cupped the baby's tiny head. Aryan bowed his head, swallowing a sob. The nurse smiled warmly. "She knows her mother." Mahar looked at the baby like she was seeing a miracle, and then she looked at Aryan. For the first time since waking up, she didn't look hurt. She looked hopeful, cautious, but hopeful. Aryan whispered, "You don't have to forgive me today, or tomorrow, but let me be here, let me stay, let me fix this." Her voice came out as a breath, barely audible. "Stay." He froze, unsure if he heard correctly. She repeated, this time clearer, though faint, "Stay, with them." Aryan nodded so fast, his vision blurred. "I'm not going anywhere, ever again." The nurse gently took the baby to return her to NICU, and Mihor's eyes fluttered tiredly. "You rest," Aryan whispered. "I'll be here when you wake up." He kissed her forehead softly, hesitant, reverent, then sat back down, still holding her hand. For the first time in months, she slept peacefully, and he kept his promise. He didn't move. When Mahor woke again, it was afternoon. The room felt brighter, warmer. She blinked, her eyes focusing, and saw something that made her throat tighten. Aryan was sitting beside the bed. Hair messy, tie discarded, shirt wrinkled, with their newborn son sleeping on his chest. He was holding the baby like he'd been doing it his whole life, gently patting his back, humming softly. Her heart softened, not by choice, but instinct. He looked up, saw her eyes open, and smiled, not the CEO smile, not the distant one, but a real, unguarded smile she hadn't seen in years. He cried, Aryan whispered. "Wouldn't settle until I held him? I guess he knows his father." Mahar swallowed, emotions washing over her. "You look tired," she whispered weakly. He shook his head. "I've never felt more awake." He placed the baby carefully in the crib and came closer to her bed. "Mahor," he said softly, "I know trust won't come easy. I know forgiveness will take time, but I'm ready to earn it every single day. For you, and for them." She looked into his eyes, truly looked, and saw something she once thought impossible in him. Fear of losing her, fear of not being good enough, and a love he could no longer hide. Her fingers reached out, brushing his hand. Not an answer, not forgiveness, but a beginning. He leaned his forehead against hers. "I love you," he whispered. Her eyes glistened, and for the first time in 9 months, she didn't look away. Outside the ICU room, 2 newborns slept peacefully. 2 little lives that had brought their parents back together in the most unexpected way. Aryan kissed her forehead again, gently, reverently. "We'll raise them together," he whispered, "if you'll let me." And for the first time since the night he pushed her away, she nodded, a small, fragile nod, but enough, more than enough. Their story wasn't ending here. It was just beginning. If you ever felt like life gives you only one chance to fix what's broken, this story proves something powerful. Regret means nothing unless you're brave enough to change. Adrian made the mistake of letting his fear destroy the woman who loved him, but when he faced her again, holding the twins he never expected, he learned the hardest truth. Family isn't something you wait for, it's something you fight for. Maya carried the pain alone, Yet she still chose forgiveness, not because it was easy, but because healing always begins with the heart. If you want more emotional, heartfelt stories like this, stories of loss, redemption, and families rebuilt, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell. Your support keeps these stories alive, and the next twist-filled story is coming soon.